Hey everybody, Shane Presley here with Rock Paper Podcast. Let me tell you about my friends at Naked Vine, located at 1624 Clarkson Road in Chesterfield, Missouri, serving up the finest wine, whiskey, tequila, and local craft beers. And you can come by for some great live music on Thursday, September 19th. Phil Wright and Cree Ryder will be out there. And on Friday, September 20th, John Bonham and Friends return. And Saturday, September 21st, Shaky Deal, a tribute to Neil Young. So come on by for those shows. On October 8th, I return with my singer-songwriter storytelling showcase. And we'll feature Doug Burkett of Odds Lane, Jeff Nations, and Aaron Joe Paddlefoot of The Dead Roses. Do not miss that show. 7 p.m. start, $10 at the door. You can find all this information and more at nakedvine.net. Be sure to follow along with them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And also, I want to tell you about my friends at Joseph Meyer Club. Check them out at josephmeyerclub.com today and try out their brand new foaming aftershave. It's a wonderful product. I use it myself. I love it, and I think you will too. You can try it today for 20% off using my code RPPJMC20 during checkout. Again, RPPJMC20. And you're going to love it. So, again, josephmeyerclub.com. And last but not least, I want to say thank you again to Heil Microphones for all their support. Check out heilsound.com. Really been helping make this show sound great, so big thanks to them. If you're in the market for some new gear, some new microphones, whatever it might be, check out Heil Sound today. And so thank you all for listening. Thanks for continuing to spread the good word about the show. If you would like, if you're interested in a hat or a shirt, or you just want to say hey, feel free to reach out to me on my email at rockpaperpodcast@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I would love to hear from you. So again, thank you everybody for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
This is Justin Johnson, and you're listening to Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast, y'all.
Hey, everybody. Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Hanging out today with Justin Johnson. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks for having me. It's kind of a cool thing to do.
Man. Like, this is kind of, I feel like a long time in the making. We've been friendly online. I feel like I say a lot of the same thing every time I start these, because a lot of them start this way. We've become friends online. I've been, following some of your music, and then we finally get a chance to sit and talk properly and get to meet. And like we just met a little bit ago before hitting record, and but we got a lot of new music to talk about and everything else. I thought this would work out perfectly. Nice timing and stuff.
No, yeah, I'm happy to finally have something to promote for the first time in a while.
Yeah, man. So this is cool, and like I said, I'm glad to be here and glad to finally meet you in the flesh and stuff. So, but like I said, I've definitely known some of your work and all this. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to go over some of the backstory in a little bit, and anybody else that doesn't quite as familiar, they can also kind of learn along the way too with me. And but I guess you want to start at the beginning. Did Justin, you grew up here in St. Louis?
Yeah, I grew up. I grew up in Cahokia, Illinois, and then I lived in the city of St. Louis through elementary school, and then I lived in Bridgeton, and then I kind of moved around a little bit. I lived in Arkansas for about 3 years, in a really small town, like a population of like 5.
Oh yeah.
No exaggeration. Yeah. And then I went to high school in Brentwood, moved back here, and then I did some time And college time at Southern Illinois, Carbondale. And then after that, I lived in Austin, Texas for about 6 years. And then I came back to St. Louis, I guess 2007.
Right
So
on,
I've been
man.
here for about 12 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've said a bunch too. Like St. Louis has always been home, even though I live like an hour out, but I still, it's definitely always been there. But so I guess when does music kind of enter the picture along that journey?
So I originally was doing film, like that's what I went to school for. And then when I moved to Austin, that was my main focus. I was working on short films, and then got into documentary filmmaking, made a feature-length documentary, and kind of went the whole process of raising money and making the film, spent like 5 years on that, and then went, did the festival circuit and that kind of thing. And always, I guess like the whole time I was in Austin, like I was playing guitar. A buddy of mine that I ended up doing a lot of film projects with. When we were in college, he had this tape that he was playing, and it was like songs that he recorded himself just on a cassette tape. And it like just never occurred to me that somebody could do that. So I just thought that was so fascinating. So I didn't really know anything about guitar, or even like how to write a song. And so he showed me how to play a few chords, and then I kind of just sort of fumbled through that for about a year. And then I got one of those Tascam 4-tracks, and probably for about, God, I want to say like 6 or 7 years, I just like sort of recorded like hundreds of songs, like some that it would just be hard for me to listen back to.
Right.
And I don't know, probably wrote like 200 crappy songs and then finally, like, I don't know, like one day, like wrote one that was like, wow, this is kind of, sounds okay.
Yeah.
And my buddy, I thought he was like a great songwriter, or I think he is a great songwriter. And so he moved to Austin, and so we started playing a little bit together. And so that kind of helped me. Like I'd never really like played music with somebody, but really that was always something I did very lightly. Like whenever I had time here and there, it was not really something I ever like considered playing music in front of people, or, giving my music to somebody to listen to. But then I started getting opened up a little bit. I played in a band in Austin for about a year, and that was my first experience of playing music live in front of an audience. And the first 2 times we played, I pretty much puked before we went on. And then the first 2 times we played, I couldn't even face it. My hands like shook so bad I couldn't even play my guitar. And I was just playing guitar. I didn't have to sing or anything. The thought of actually singing in front of people just sounded like the worst thing possible. And really after that, I kind of didn't do music very much for a little bit. And then when I moved to St. Louis, I just didn't really find like a film scene here or anything. And I was kind of like in the middle of finishing a film project. So I didn't really have any, and I didn't have like access to like gear or anything. Like everything that I had, that like all my resources were in Texas. So, I moved here with my wife, and we were still kind of trying to find our footing. We got an apartment, and she was working, and I didn't have a job for about 6 months. And so I just kind of picked up my guitar and was kind of working through, sort of that kind of normal loneliness you get when you move somewhere and you don't really know anybody, because I hadn't been in St. Louis in like 10 years. So I got I started playing a bunch, and I started recording, and then got a job at this coffee shop, and I met this guy, Andy Leisure, who was in the band Theodore, and he was in Demon Lover. I think he still does that band, but I haven't talked to him in a while. But I met him, and I hadn't really seen any live local acts, so he was like, oh, my band's playing at this place called, I think it was called like the Schoolhouse or something like that. Okay. Lucas Schoolhouse. Yeah. It was like, so I went and saw his band Theodore play, and they just kind of blew me away. And so that kind of got me a little inspired to get a little more serious about writing music. And so I let him listen to some of the demo stuff that I had, and he was like very encouraging. And so I did a little recording with him, and then kind of formed a short-lived, like, weird type punk band with a few guys from my high school, and a guy that I had just met, Wade Durbin, and he played bass, and he was kind of one of the first few people that I met, and he's from Springfield, but he had been in St. Louis for a while, and he kind of introduced me to Skyview Drive-In, and we kind of clicked on movies. Like, it turned out he went to Carbondale too for film. And so after this short-lived punk band we did kind of fell apart, I started working at Sasha's on Damon, and working in the kitchen. And I start working with this guy who's like 10 years younger than me, Will. And I mean, he was probably like 21 at the time, maybe 22, and just very passionate about music, like very boombastic and just, kind of like a wild guy. And we started hanging out, and then, kind of talking about music, and it was kind of weird. It was, sorry, it's like a long story, but we went to see Wolf Parade at Wash U, and it was like 1 a.m, and we got back to his apartment, and it was like very late, and he had like this whole setup in his apartment where he was like recording music, and he had like mics and a full drum kit, like basically converted his whole like living room, kitchen, and this little apartment as like a recording studio. So he just started rolling on stuff, and I used to do, I would just do like a lot of freestyle, like when I would play, just like whatever I was feeling, lyrics, music, everything. And I don't know, we like clicked, and so we were like, yeah, let's start a band. And so then I called Sean, or I don't know if you cut that out, but Sean Wade, he goes by 2 different names, but I called him and I said, hey, I'm playing with this guy, like you should come and check it out. And so me, him, and one of my friends, Hannah, we all started Pretty Low Empire, and then recorded just really like late at night when we could for like 6 months, like songs that I had, and like kind of pieced them together, and then put that album out just about 10 years ago. And Hannah, Will was playing drums at the time. Me and Hannah played guitar, and we sang, and Sean played bass. And then Hannah moved to Costa Rica, and then after that, this guy Evan O'Neill came in as like a full-time drummer. Will moved up to lead guitar and got 2 amps and started like messing with pedals, and like we kind of like our first album was very folky and quiet and like super lo-fi, and then we kind of regrouped and like changed to more of like I guess like Americana meets 80s like new wave rock sound. It was very different, but we were pretty into it. And then kind of from there, we spent, I don't know, a good 3 years like trying to tour and put out an album and get, do what we could, play as many shows as we could. The sort of natural, I think, thing that you do when you start, putting all your time into it for a band, as playing in a group.
How do you make that? I mean, I guess like I'm sure you still took a while to work through it, but how do you make that step from going to where you're completely stage fright, puking before the show and everything, to fronting a band and actually being the singer? And
it still really kind of scares the shit out of me, but like it was a long road to like not be super nervous. But I still, like, my nerves would always still be shot even when we had played like 100 shows, but somehow, like, I don't know, it's like, if I can explain a way of like harnessing those nerves and kind of like letting go, and kind of really like music being kind of like a release as a live performance. Yeah. And it is something that I can't, I don't know. It's like, it's very like, it like gives me like a high, like playing in front of
for sure, man,
playing on stage in front of a group of people. especially if, you know, you're getting like energy off the audience. And, but I don't really know where I couldn't really like pinpoint like where that point was where I went from being kind of shy and like, soft spoken about it to like kind of being able to like really let go and like full throttle, like play as hard as I could and just like, you know, I mean, not worry about what I look like or like how my voice sounds or like what people think of me, like just kind of letting go and like letting each show be its own kind of like experience.
Right. Definitely. It is funny, like doing this show enough now and getting to meet, you know, various cast of characters around the city. You know, there's quite a few people, like you talk to them, you know, off mic or whatever, and they're like this really quiet and like soft-spoken kind of person, real kind of shy, and then all of a sudden, like, you see them in their band and they're like playing this like crazy rock and roll and all that, whatever, and like they're totally owning it on stage and they come to life and stuff, and it's just like, it's interesting how there's like, it's like two different people, you know, like as soon as they step on stage, they're a completely different character. And so
yeah, I even if I'm not into a band, I respect anybody that can get up and play in front of a crowd and also like really like give it their all, you know, like if I see a band finish and like there's just like sweat pouring off the band,
right.
like I feel like even if I wasn't into their music, like I got my money's worth.
Yeah, right. I know a little bit of that. I've never played, you know, I never, but just like hosting some shows and, you know, anything, like I've done a couple of different things where people gave me a mic on stage and I'm like, you know, it took me a while to really get sort of comfortable. I don't know if I'm ever comfortable, but like getting better about it. And, you know, even doing the show, like for the first time we started recording, we had no idea what we were doing. And I was nervous and to speak and like, but I feel like, you know, you do anything enough times to start feeling a little more comfortable about it. And, but, so yeah, I'm with you on that, talking about that high of playing and stuff. Like I get that in the audience, you know, it's like, that's music's definitely, you know, I get that rush, you know, just live music, whatever it is. And like, and that's why it's fun to, I'm sure is part of why you keep doing what you're doing and chasing that every time, you know, and that's how I am. Every time you know, it's like you want that show to be the next great show where you're like, you walk away leaving that feeling like, oh, that was amazing. Like, yeah. So.
Yeah. And there's something too about, I think like that, you know, I've probably made like every mistake that you could possibly make, like playing live, like, or like, you know, that every, you know, when you're green. And I think too, like learning from all those mistakes and like knowing like, oh man, there's a lot that goes on to like make it a good show for you, you know, like communicating with a sound person,
right.
And, you know, making sure all your strings that have, you know, been changed like 2 weeks before you know, just all these things to like, where I know like now I'm almost like, you know, like a maniac about it, like the pre-prep, but I know that if I've like prepped everything and like did all these, like my checklists that I have, I know that like once we start playing, like I can be the most free, you know, like, but I don't have to worry. I mean, sure, stuff always happens, you know, you could have a technical problem, but the most that I can sort of like be prepared for it, it makes me not fret when I'm actually playing.
Right. Yeah. You, well, you mentioned Pretty Little Empire. Obviously that's what, kind of what you're talking about there. Let's drop in this, we did do a live acoustic version of a song called Good Morning Early Riser. And this, you said, well, you're approaching 10 years of this record that it was on, right?
Yeah. Our first album from Pretty Little Empire was called Sweet Sweet Hands. And this was on that album. And yeah, in October, it'll be 10 years since it came out. Which is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, man, that's wild.
It's like, where did 10 years go? Holy cow.
I'm right.
something to talk about, my friends. Know how places change and faces change for us, and our loyalty is always at a loss. And I had it wrong. Oh, and I had it wrong. Oh, and so you were right, that I had it wrong. Oh, there is no standing on the edge. There is no time to plan ahead. You cannot crawl out or from this wreck. So don't insist to speak of it. And I had it wrong. Oh, and I had it wrong. Oh, and so you were right, that I had it wrong. Oh.
That's kind of crazy to think about, though. Like, for sure that 10 years and now you're playing the song still today and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool to have that kind of longevity that people, this music's still celebrated and people want to hear these songs still 10 years later. And so very, very cool, man. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
This it reminds me. I mean, it's a little bit of different, but I saw Everlast one time at Lumiere. And I think he said he ended up closing his show with Jump Around from House of Pain. And he's at the time, it was like, I don't know, 20, 25 years, whatever the number was. I think it was 25. I think that came out like 93, 94.
Sounds about right.
Somewhere in there, in that ballpark maybe. Whatever it was. But he was like, thanks for, helping me get paid off this silly song for 20-something years now and all this, like, and it's just like, man, that's pretty wild to think about. Like, yeah, he's still, 20 years later, he's still doing the song, still closing each show with it, but yeah, it's pretty cool, for sure. So, but anyway, so check out that, and I guess you can find Pretty Little Empire all over the digitally and stuff, right?
Yeah, we're on Spotify if that's your choice of music.
Yeah.
I don't begrudge anybody from using Spotify.
Yeah.
We've made money on Spotify from downloads and streams and people going to buy it on iTunes.
Sure. Well, I hope I hope people who are kind of like me on that. Like, I do have a Spotify premium account and I listen to a lot on there just out of convenience, but if I like it, I go buy it. It's like if I definitely support buying vinyl whenever possible and stuff, and I buy a lot of physical product CDs, and of course, like, it also leads to exposure. Maybe people come out to the show and buy a T-shirt at the show or whatever it is. So we don't really play anymore, and right. I don't play shows that often, so for me Spotify is more benefiting because the music is just there, so it's it's there for people if they choose to go there and check it out. Whereas
it may be different if I was like playing shows all the time and just trying to promote selling CDs and vinyl and stuff like that. But that is not the case.
Well, you do have one big show coming up, and let's dive right into this thing, man. So the reason we're talking today, we have a brand new, we're calling it's an EP, right?
I'm calling it an album. There's only 7 songs, and it's really short, but I've been calling it an album.
Yeah.
I guess like it's,
I don't know.
Maybe it's an EP. I don't really know what the.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the cutoff is on that. Like how many minutes or how many tracks or whatever.
But even if I'm wrong, I'm just gonna say that I'm putting an album out.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, man.
I'm just goofing, but.
So Justin has a brand new album called "Never Coming Home," due out September 28th, and you're throwing a big release party at Off Broadway, one of my favorite rooms in the city for sure. Bringing along a bunch of your talented friends and my friends too, Jenny Roques, Town Cars, and O Ivy, and that's going to be a fun show, man.
Yeah, I'm really excited that all of them not only agreed to do the show, but also Melinda from Town Cars is going to play on my set, and she recorded all the lead guitar on the album, and nice. I've got Corey Woodruff playing drums, and Jenny Roques, who sang several tracks on the new album. She's going to jump on stage and sing those songs live, and also a musical guest, Devin Cale. She's going to jump on stage. She's on the album as well. And it's going to be fun. And then Wade, that played bass in Pretty Little Empire, he's going to play bass on my set.
Nice,
so
man.
It's kind of like he's in Town Cars as well, so it's like partially fronted or partially backed by Town Cars,
right?
So they'll be playing like 2 shows almost.
Yeah, man, that's gonna be a great evening, and so come on out. Tickets available at offbroadwaystl.com, and you can purchase those and join us for a fun evening. Are you doing physicals for this album?
I'll have physical CDs, and then the album will hit Spotify like after the release.
Right.
But yeah, I'll have physical CDs there. I really wanted to do vinyl, but I just, there's the cost involved, and then at the same time, how little I play now. It just didn't seem practical at the moment. Sure. But though I do love vinyl, and I have been fortunate enough to have put out 3 vinyls with various bands I've played with, but just what didn't happen for this one. But I will have CDs, so they will be there. Mm-hmm. I don't have any digital download cards, but I probably should get something like that printed up before the release.
Yeah, I think it's also a fun way to, like, at least you can purchase it directly from you and stuff, and do that kind of route too, even if it's just a digital. But that's what I do like about buying a record. Like most of the times, the vinyl comes with a digital download card. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about trying to buy it twice or convert or anything like that. And so anyway, but yeah, man, that'll be cool. So come out and pick up a brand new copy of Justin's Never Coming Home record. But we're gonna give you a little sneak peek today. Let you know what Justin's been up to. And I picked a song called How the Story Goes. And this is, I don't know, I really dig it. Like, it was almost like, I don't know, there was another one too, kind of popped up too in a similar type of thing. But like, there's almost like some kind of like surf rock to it a little bit at times. Like some of your vocals and some of the guitars. And it's like, just kind of, I don't know if that's an influence at all, but like I feel like that was kind of coming through a little bit, a little vibe of that, like that. Yeah,
there's a lot of I've got my kind of taste run like all over the map, so there's quite a this is like kind of a little genre bending a little bit, the album, but I can see that, I'm into.
Sure. And I like that, like it kind of like builds too, like there's like obviously when the everything kind of kicks in and on about halfway and stuff, and like anyway, it was just fun. I really enjoyed the tune, and so take a listen to this one called How the Story Goes. And is there anything else you need to add around this particular song?
No, other than I'll say Jenny Roques she sang on this one, as well as Vince, who recorded and mixed the record, plays bass on this. Melinda plays bass on a lot of the songs, but Vince plays the bass on this one.
Okay.
Vince Corkery.
Pulled apart, tried again, lost it all, now we're here to win. Do you feel it now? I feel it too. But you left me here, went your way, cost me more than you could ever pay, and I'm sinking now, I'm in it deep. And you know, that's how that story goes. And you know, that's how that story goes. Shut your mouth, I kept it clean. Never know what each other mean, but we're finding out we cannot hide. And I don't think you'll ever find what it is that will satisfy, 'cause you never want what I want. And you know, that's how that story goes. And you know, that's how that story goes. And it goes on and on and on, on and on and on. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. I don't think you'll ever find what it is that will satisfy, 'cause you never want what I want. And you know, that's how that story goes. And you know, that's how that story goes.
Does he have a studio or?
Elmas Studio. It's a home studio, but he's got a full kind of rig set up. So he kind of invited. I've known him for a long time, and so I went and checked out like kind of what he was doing, listened to some stuff, and then he recorded, mixed, and mastered, and then also played bass on 2 songs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it sounds incredible, man. Like I would have never known where you did it. Like, it sounds great. I know, like, a lot of the overall, I feel like a lot of the record has some more of a minimalist feel to it. But there's, definitely still a lot of production value in it and stuff. But sounded incredible, man.
Thanks.
So
Thanks.
I was real happy. You gave me a little sneak peek of it and all and stuff. So I was really digging it. It sounded great. So again, pick up your copy on September 28th at Off Broadway. But let's. You said the title track, "Never Coming Home," you started that one. Started getting some attention online.
I put it out as a single, and I've gotten a response from that one, and that one is probably my favorite that we recorded, and probably the one that's like I would say like the most personal to me. I guess if I was gonna get like weird about it, but I just that's one that and it was one of the early ones that we recorded, and I just really like how that came together. So that's been the one I've been pushing as like a quote unquote single, if you want, you know.
Yeah. Is that, I guess, that lyrically like a lot more personal for you than compared to the rest of the record, or?
Yeah, like some stuff I write, it's personal, and then other stuff is kind of, you know, more free form, and then other stuff is like, I'm trying to write a 50s pop song, and, you know, and what are themes that, you know, are in 50s pop songs, like love or, you know, that kind of thing. So it's I like approached songs differently when I'm writing. Like some stuff comes from like a personal place, and those are the ones usually that I like the most, because they sort of like kind of like bubble up. There's no like premeditation involved. It just sort of happens one night. And then the songs that usually aren't my favorite are the ones I spend like months rewriting or like trying to turn into something or like change parts. And I don't know, sometimes that you're almost like kind of beating it to death. I've
heard a lot of that. Like if you have to like work on it too long, it's probably not going to be the one that becomes a hit or anything like that. It's like, it's those that like you write in 5-10 minutes. Those are the ones that everybody starts to respond to and stuff like.
Yeah. And the longer I work on something, the more I talk myself out of like, this is not, you know, or I don't know. It just, though there have been few that I've kind of rewritten and, you know, I've gone back to and like reworked, and that How the Story Goes was one that I kind of kept putting down, because it just, the lyrics weren't there, and it just over the course of a few years, like finally got it to where I felt like comfortable enough to lay it down.
Yeah. Well, let's share Never Coming Home, the title track again of this record. Is there anything about this one, recording or anything wise?
Recording wise, I really Melinda plays the lead guitar on this and does like this sort of like kind of cool layered reverse guitar that really like opens up the song. And I think too, like Melinda and Corey plays drums, and Jenny also sings on the song, and everybody that played on this kind of like, I like keeping things real simple, and everybody approached it that way of like, you know, simply do something interesting and like add a little flavor, not trying to, I got to get a solo in here or something like that. Like everybody really brought like a simplicity of like, that's kind of how I write songs, and everybody had heard stuff that I'd done before. So it was almost kind of like I didn't really even need to say much. It was just like, here's a song, you know, and Melinda would kind of, here I came up with something and was like, no, that's awesome. Just lay it down. So it all came together like really fast with everybody that played on it. So yeah, this is one I really dig how it came out.
Nice, man.
You don't like what I do to myself. Why pretend it don't hurt no one else? Like a nail that just clings to the wall, holding tight so no pictures will fall. And if I'm never coming home again, if I'm never gonna stay, then you know what you have to do. You say I cannot control myself. Man, I feel like I'm somebody else. Cannot eat, I can't possibly sleep. Just push the dirt in, I'm buried too deep. And if I'm never coming home again, if I'm never gonna stay, then you know what you have to do. And if I'm never coming home again, if I'm never gonna stay, then you know what you have to do.
You is this the first record as a solo, or were you putting under as a solo artist?
This is pretty much the first thing I've released. Is like, you know, I mean, it's not really like a solo record because it's like a full band played
Right.
on it, but yeah, like under my own name. And I tried to come up with some names. Sorry, I tried to come up with some names for many months, and yeah, nothing
All right.
sounded good to me because I didn't want to release it under my name because there's already a guy named Justin Johnson who plays cigar box banjo,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think he's like in Tennessee or something. And I've played at least two solo shows where someone's come up to me thinking that they were coming to see
All right.
that Justin Johnson, and like we're like severely disappointed, you know, and I'm like, oh, well, stick around, you know, maybe I don't play cigar box banjo, but maybe you'll like this. And they always kind of like take off, and they're like, oh, I was wondering why this was a free show. You know?
Yeah.
No offense to the guy that plays cigar box banjo, but
Yeah.
I even get messages. I've gotten messages from people like, oh, I love your stuff. And I'm like, you think the cigar box banjo guy? And they're like, oh yeah, it's not me.
Yeah, he comes through quite a bit and there's a Highway 61 Roadhouse. He does like a festival out there and stuff. And
yeah, he's that's the thing. That's why I didn't want to use that name, because he's pretty like regionally famous.
Yeah, but I mean,
but
what are you supposed to do? It's your name still.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like,
Fuck him. I was born with this name too. You know. No, it's just
but no, I get it, man. Like it's so difficult to think of anything like, and especially stuff that's like not been used. I mean, you know, even your own name's been used, so it's like, it's hard to come up with anything that's like stands out that's like not already been taken by somebody else. It's really difficult to. What were some of those names you were thinking about though? Did you?
Oh God!
Do you remember any of
If
them?
I can. I don't know, it'd be like embarrassing to even read. But I'll take 1 second. I'll see if I can find it in my phone notes.
Right.
But
just out of curiosity. Because I don't know, old band names and different things. Like,
yeah, it's a
always make me
tough
laugh.
here band name. I love movies, so it's like Road Movie was one of the band names I had. God, actually, I'm not going to read any of these. These are embarrassing. So I'll just stop there.
All right.
But yeah, it was tough. Like coming up with names has always been hard. And like with Pretty Little Empire, that was a name that I actually gave Will that eventually played Pretty Little Empire with me. He was in a band and they were trying to come up with a name. And so I had used to just write band names down, and that was one that always stuck out to me. I was like, Pretty Little Empire, you should call your guys Pretty Little Empire. And the guy that was playing music with him was just like, no, man, that's like too feminine. We're not going to use that. You know, so it's like, all right. And they picked some like super, they like told me their name and I don't remember what it was, but I was like, yeah, man, it sounds like a heavy metal band. Like, and there was already like 6 bands with that name. But whenever me and Will started playing, I was like, what about that name? Like, you know, and he's like, all right, let's do it. So then, and I was like, you know, 3 words kind of has like a feel to it. And I don't know, can get like be interpreted different ways.
Yeah.
You know, I like being a little bit vague with music.
Nice, man. Well, yeah, yeah, I don't know, man. But it's funny though that people are reaching out for the other Justin though. That's,
yeah, and good. I hope one day
yeah,
I'll be as successful as the other Justin Johnson.
Yeah. That's I don't know. And still the fact you said they just left. Like, no, that's not for me. Like, just this guy didn't play Cigar Box once in a set.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, maybe I should just do one cover song.
There you go. Yeah,
just in case someone does happen to stick around for accidentally come to my show.
Yeah. That would be pretty good. Well, I wanted to get into some other stuff with you, talk about podcasting. I know you just, maybe you said you've been working around for about a year?
Yeah, I've been doing, we've had a podcast kind of where you can listen to it for a year. But I probably spent a year before that kind of, because I was very new. I'm very new to podcasting, so I spent a year kind of researching, thinking about it and testing things out, and what is it? How do I want to do this thing, and how do you podcast? And all these, answered all my once I got all my questions answered, I kind of started feeling my way around. But yeah, we've been active for about just a little over a year.
Okay. And we're talking about Don't Push Pause podcast, which available everywhere, wherever you're listening to this show and things. Spotify. Are you on Spotify, right?
Yeah, we're on Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, all that.
I know I pulled it up on Google Play. But yeah, find it wherever you're listening to podcasting. And but this is it's fun, man, because I was just listening. I guess the most recent one is Deliverance.
Yeah, Deliverance. That was a fun one to do. Yeah.
And it made me laugh because I was just recently was watching that movie over at Naked Vine, and Brian likes to put on a lot of various movies.
Yeah.
Usually the sound's not on or until later in the evening, maybe if nobody's closing up the bar, maybe he'll put the sound on the movie or something or whatever it is. But a lot of times he's just playing, and he usually picks movies that have some cinematic quality to where it's you can still enjoy the movie even without the sound and things.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of them. It's just a beautiful movie.
Yeah, it's very visual, and that was a good one for us because we try to the podcast is a movie discussion podcast. We're not really reviewing movies, and the majority of the movies we're talking about are from the 1980s. We do some 70s, some 90s, but we try to find something about that movie that can be a main center of discussion. And with Deliverance, the rape scene in that movie kind of overshadowed the rest of the movie. And kind of when people say the movie Deliverance, the first, people start making jokes, and they, and they can't get past that scene. But when you go back, you're man, this is a fantastic survivalist, action, beautifully shot movie, beautifully scored. And so that was a good one to do, a good topic of discussion. Cause we try to find, we do where we give a lot of information and backstory on the movies that we research, but we like to try to come up with our own little discussion counterpoint type things that we can talk about that hopefully is interesting to the listener, or kind of get them thinking about the movie. And usually the point of doing a lot of the movies is to get people to kind of rewatch and reevaluate these movies that, because there's just so much stuff out now, and some of these can easily get buried. We don't have video stores that we can go to anymore and kind of browse 10,000 movies. So sometimes if you're 25 and you're not a movie junkie, if it's not on Netflix or one of these, platforms that you can watch it, then, it may not be something that comes across your radar. So hopefully some of these, a lot of stuff we do is everybody's heard of, Lost Boys, those kind of thing. But also too, I would be lying if I said that there wasn't a nostalgia part to this, this sort of retro portion of our podcast where it's we're kind of, if we're born in the, late 70s, early 80s, a lot of these movies are going to be ones that you grew up on.
Right. Yeah, man. it's definitely fun. Like I said, kind of going through some of those, and makes you think a little bit about some of the stuff. Like it just as you guys are discussing, maybe for me, like I tend to watch some stuff, like think about it as for like value, face value and stuff. But like as you guys discuss, it kind of makes you think about it a little more and maybe what's going on and stuff. So,
and I feel like I've gotten really lucky. Like Lindsay Reber, that she is the co-host of the podcast with me. She just, her knowledge of film is like insane, and she just has like a love and passion, and also is like comes from like a journalist and researching background. So like she just brings so much to the table of like when we're like prepping for the show. Like it's cool to be able to bounce things off and of each other, and to kind of formulate like, okay, here's going to be our topic of discussion for this movie, and it's just fun. It gives me a reason to like an excuse to like rewatch these movies like 2 times in like a week or whatever.
Yeah. So what got you into wanting to do like to create this podcast and stuff? Were you listening to a bunch of them before? Or?
Mainly it was like I'd always loved talking about movies, and I'd listened to a few movie podcasts, and some of them I wasn't really into, like, and it kind of I kind of kept saying like, man, I wish I would do this, man, I wish I would do this, and then eventually, I was like, oh well, maybe this is something I could do and like do these things that I, kind of want to do. So like I kind of went on like a 2 or 3 months where I like will listen to various film podcasts, and I just kind of made a list of like all the things I liked and all the things I didn't like. And then I was like, how can I create something that I don't feel like I'm directly ripping something off, but I'm also like not doing a lot of the things that, that for me personally, I don't, when I'm hearing like film discussions, things I like or didn't like. And so a lot of times it's when there's like, I love interview shows, but it's never something I kind of wanted. I don't feel comfortable like interviewing people.
Yeah.
And I feel like at first I was like, well, maybe we could do that, but there were so many people like interviewing film actors and that kind of stuff already. And then there was so many people doing, kind of like they're talking about current movies that are coming out, and I don't see new movies as much anymore. And I also was like, man, there's no way I could have the time to go watch a brand new movie that I'd never seen before and then try to build a whole like interesting discussion point around that movie. So I started thinking like, oh, well, there's tons of these movies that I've seen. I'm kind of a movie junkie, so it's like there's movies I've seen like 20 times. I was like, maybe that wasn't such a waste of my life. I can take this, all this time in my life, and when I was younger, watching these movies over and over again, like that can be applicable to something that hopefully is creative. And I don't know, podcasts to me, there's something really creative about it. I like, there's a lot to it. It's a lot of work, I mean, I'm sure, it takes up a lot of time, but yeah, I don't know. It's something I got real passionate about, and it's fun. Yeah. And like same thing with like Lindsay, I didn't know her that well. Like we became great friends, and like, it's cool talking to somebody about movies that loves movies as much, and I have a few friends that, they don't live in St. Louis. Like I can call them on the phone and we can talk, but it's cool to have somebody that like lives close and that, I can meet up with, every 2 weeks and
yeah, man, definitely
kind of like hash it out, like talk about these memovies that we love.
Yeah. I have a ton of fun doing this show. I mean, getting to me like exactly what you're saying with like getting to it's I don't have a band or, any of that kind of stuff, but this is my creative outlet for me to like put my own spin on everything and put it out there, and I get to meet all kinds of cool people. And all, like you're saying, as you started recording with her, like we've become great friends. All these people that have been on the show, we're all, hanging now and good friends. And so it's been a lot of fun, man. So anybody that's thinking about doing a podcast, just do it. Like that's what I always tell people. Like grab a mic, grab a buddy or whatever, and just go press record. And
yeah, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of dedication, right. But especially if you're keeping, like we do, you put out a ton. You put out an impressive amount of like content, like
you actually put like production into it, like as you're putting the movie clips and everything else. And mine, I don't really edit much. I'll drop a song in and my theme song or whatever, that type of stuff. But like, and I've got it down to like where I could just drop in, cut and paste pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's like, but you put a little more effort into it.
Yeah, the editing takes a little while, and and I think more of the editing comes from, if we were doing an interview show, like interviews can go, like I've been blabbing, I can blab for like 10 minutes about something, but I'm the guest or whatever, but if it's us and we're the same two people talking,
sure.
If we go off on tangents, I have to go in and cut those out, because you get excited and it's easy to like, oh my God, I've been fucking talking for like 10 minutes on, and what have I even said? I don't know. I don't even know what I said. And then when I go back and listen to that, it makes me cringe. And then I can just hit a button and delete that 10 minutes and then just only use the material that we like prepared on paper. Like, here's what we're going to talk about. And then you don't always stick to what you want to talk about, and that can be hard, but that's where the editing comes in. And but because I do that, we do bi-weekly shows, because it does take time to, as you know, like sometimes post-production, when you're trying to get things finessed, man, 4 hours can really zip by. Like I can start, I'm just going to do a couple little things here and mix some sound, and at like 10 and have a beer. And then all of a sudden it's like 2:30 in the morning. I'm like, oh my God, I got to go to work in like 5 hours.
I definitely falling asleep a couple of times doing, trying to do it, just like waiting on a file to render or whatever, it's like, definitely. But it's also part of the fun of it for me. Like I enjoy the editing process, and as it like kind of comes to life, it becomes a real show and stuff. So that's,
I do too. And I came from a film background, and I had really missed all aspects of that, and editing being one of them, and being able to kind of edit sound and manipulate things is like really sort of helped me, go back to do something I used to do a long time ago, and be creative with sound. And then too, we do like little goofy video clips. We've been doing more of that. So it's been fun to kind of, get that in. And to me, it's interesting, like with, like playing music, you put a CD out, and it's just like, most of the time you don't really, it's like when you play a show, you get an immediate reaction. So that's one thing, you play a show, you get done, and sometimes you have a great show, sometimes you have an okay show, sometimes you have a shit show. But it's like, usually you get off the stage and like somebody's like, hey, like that was cool, or what happened there, or whatever,
where's your cigar box?
Yeah. And then, but then like with putting out CDs or vinyl, it's like, you don't really, it's just kind of, it's like out there, but with the podcast, like, every time you put out a new episode, you put it on Facebook or Instagram, and generally, we get a message, or we get a comment, or somebody is like, oh man, I haven't seen that movie forever. Or they listen to it. And so it's kind of cool to get these like immediate reactions for new things coming out. And it would almost be like, I guess, like putting like, or if you were constantly putting out songs, like if you had the ability to like, I'm putting out a song like every, 2 weeks.
Right.
But so it's kind of like a way to do that. Like you can stay interactive with people, but also put out new content.
Yeah. You said something earlier about, new movies wise, and like not really having the time to do all that. And like, you mainly talk about some of the older films and stuff, and something in that triggered a memory of my Uncle Roger. One day it was like a Thanksgiving, we were all kind of, obviously like a lot of new movies start coming up around the holiday stuff. And like, we got to talking movies over dinner with some of my cousins. And then I should preface it also, my Uncle Roger is paralyzed. And so like, not that he couldn't do it, but he just didn't get out a lot. So, but he happened to say something as we're talking about it. He goes, "Yeah, I just went to the movies," and we all kind of like stop and look at him like, "What, really?" And he goes, "Yeah, I went to go see Deer Hunter, 1974," and like I just fell out of my chair laughing. Like it was one of the funniest things. Like the fact that like that was that was his new movie that he was talking about. So like, but So anyway, just funny
Man,
stuff.
that's an intense movie.
Yeah,
So-
right. But he's also a Vietnam vet, and so
Yeah.
like I mean, like he was definitely that was more his speed was some of that stuff. So, but anyway, just made me laugh. Like that's
Deer Hunter is one of those movies I have to like kind of like emotionally prepare myself about once every 5 years. I revisit that movie.
Yeah.
But it's an excellent film.
Yeah. So check out they're all out there. We got several episodes now again, and click play, listen, and tell a friend, subscribe, spread the word. Speaking of Corey playing drums and stuff, he shot those pictures for you too, right?
Yeah, Corey did some promo photos for my album coming out, and then also for the podcast, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
like
they look great, man.
I was really I'm really thankful to Corey. Like he's a really busy guy, and he like played music with me. Like he's played a couple shows with me. He like filled in on drums for Pretty Little Empire. The guy like recorded on my album and then did promo photos. So yeah, I can't thank Corey enough. He's like done a ton of stuff to help me over the last several years.
Yeah, big shout out to Corey. But those look really good, and with the in front of the TV and all that, like it was just really, really well done. And
yeah, we wanted to do something kind of cinematic, like because I was telling him like, I like doing stuff that looks, I've done so many photos where it's like we're behind the wall and so we were kind of kicking around ideas and wanted to do something that had a little kind of like a little strange. Maybe it didn't make a whole lot of sense, but it was something more than just a staged kind of photo.
You speaking of photos too, I noticed you. Anybody that's been following along with you online, you've been having some fun with the Stranger Things photos.
Yeah, it's been a peculiar thing. Like, so like, I bear. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm aware of it. Like, I bear like a weirdly uncanny resemblance to the character. What's his name? The Russian character in season 3 Stranger Things. I won't give any spoilers away, but I hadn't started season 3, and then like I would say over the course of about 4 or 5 days, I start getting texts right. and Facebook messages and like getting tagged in things, and even family members that are just like, "This is insane!" Like they're like, you look just like this guy. So.
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say as much today, but
yeah, in a particular.
If you wear the glasses,
when I have my glasses on and my hair is kind of more frizzy, but some of the posturing, I guess, I don't know. Yeah. But I started having fun with it, so I started posting my profile picture of pictures of that guy, and because people were getting a kick out of it, and I was like, man, I'm gonna play along.
Sure.
But I am going to, if this phenomenon of me looking like this guy is at all fascinating to you, I'm fully planning on the Science Center. They have those first Fridays. Well, in October, their first Friday is Stranger Things, where they take a movie or TV show, and I don't know if you've been to those deals at the Science Center, but they kind of like, they'll show the movie and they'll have like kids events, and it's all kind of like built around that show or movie. But since they're doing Stranger Things, I'm going to dress up with the glasses and like the character, because they usually have people like when they do Star Wars or something, they'll have people dressed up. So if that's something that interests you, you can come down and I'll do photos with people.
I think Busch Stadium just did a Stranger Things night down there. Yeah. Cardinals game. So you missed an opportunity there. You could have.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Well, I need to get ready. This is one of those things where I'll like really get into it. Like I'll get the glasses,
get the icy,
get the icy, get my hair looking just right.
Yeah. That I cracked out the first time I saw that. Like it made me put a big smile on my face. So
there's a Chris Ward's show on KDHX. I had posted a song and on Facebook, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to play one of your new song tonight on the show." And so it was one of the first songs I played. So I tuned in, and it was like the first thing they started talking about was like the Stranger Things deal, which I just thought was hilarious.
All right.
But if that's my 15 minutes of fame, is like looking like a guy,
right,
looking like a side character from a hit TV show.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
I get it every now and then. Somebody like, I forget, some kind of advertisement for something, and a guy sort of looked like me, and I get a text like, "Hey, this guy looks like you," and so I get very little of it. But there's definitely there's a guy. So his picture was on my high school wall. I went back to, and I was there one day, and I happened to look up, and I'm like, man, that guy looks a lot like me, and but he's a couple years younger, and so fast forward several years later, I end up working with his mom, and we're coworkers at the school, and she's like, you look a lot like my son, and I'm like, is your son Kevin? And she's like, yeah, and I'm like, I thought the same thing, and I was like, so it was really strange that we're like,
that's got to be kind of bizarre.
Yeah, right. It was a very, very weird kind of thing, and so every now and then I get it, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, nobody, not celebrity wise, but or TV show, but
yeah.
So I don't get to actually dress up, and nobody. If I dress up, nobody really gets it. So.
Yeah, it'd be weird if you just dressed up like this guy that like you kind of like you just start dressing like him at work with his mom. She's like, yeah, I don't like this.
Yeah, this is weird, man. So, but no, I'm glad that you have a sense of humor about it and embraced it and have fun with it. And so, like I said, it's everybody's getting a kick out of it. So, so keep an eye out for Justin coming to a Stranger Things party sometime soon. So
I think it's October 4th at the Science Center.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, man. It could be.
That's my gig after my release show.
Right.
Just dressing up like this guy for the rest of the year.
All right. Yeah, perfect timing, man. Gearing up for the Halloween and everything. So, but that'd be fun, man. That's it's pretty silly. So again, check out the release party September 28th, Off Broadway in St. Louis, Missouri. offbroadwaystl.com for tickets. And again, you got Justin with full band. You have Jenny Roques and Town Cars and OIV also supporting the evening. So get there early and enjoy. Have a great time. Are you going on last? Or are you? I know.
I'm gonna go on last. I think it's gonna go. Jenny's gonna play solo, then Old Ivy, then Town Cars, and then I'll probably do a few where it's just me and Corey, but sure. For the most part, it'll be a full 4-piece.
I noticed like some people do that sometimes where like on their release party, like they'll put one of their favorite bands on after them just so they can actually like sit and enjoy the show watching them play and stuff. And then also you don't have to be like nervous the entire show and stuff.
Yeah. I thought about doing that, but then I just, I've been that band that's had to do that.
Right.
And a lot of times like people kind of,
sure.
People start getting tired, and so I was like, you know what, I'm playing last. I'm gonna do it. Nice. It's funny, like most of the time, it's like nobody wants to be. It's never like you're the headliner. It's like, no, you're playing last. You're playing at the time when people are getting tired and starting to leave.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that spot.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Well. Yep. Come out and stay all night and watch Justin's set, and it's gonna be a great evening. Lots of good music for sure. So, and again, check out the podcast. And but yeah, man, this has been awesome. I'm really glad.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on and communicating and setting this all up. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, happy to help. I'm glad it. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. I'm glad it worked out, and it's been a lot of fun getting to hang. And
yeah, I'm excited that for a change, I have some things new that I've worked on that I can, share with people. Are
you planning to try to do anything with this, like as far as like touring wise or that kind of stuff?
No, I'm pretty much like after October I go into my busy season at work, so right. I'll probably try to do some pickup solo shows, and that's kind of what I had been doing for about the last 2 years. Is like I was playing solo here and there, but I didn't really have anything to, I didn't have music to sell. I mean, I have like all the stuff to do with other bands, but I never really brought that as merch. Mm-hmm. So now I don't know. It's cool to have something that I can, if I'm playing solo, sure. that I can. Here's the album I did of these songs that you're going to hear tonight. Sort of. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, maybe we get do a music video or something too. I think that could be cool.
Yeah. I'd love to, do some. I notice it like a lot of things, and I've been bad about like kind of get contacting. I see stuff online of like people were doing like stripped down stuff, video stuff here, you know, like of songs and stuff. So I got to start communicating with people, and I've been out of the loop for a little while, so I'm slowly integrating my way back in.
Yeah, man, for sure. Well, I was going to ask too, mentioning Chris, shout out to Chris, R.I.P. To his show though. Loud, Quiet, Loud. I know he hung it up the other day.
Yeah.
And but is that still like? I mean, I'm guessing that since you did tune in, like it still gets exciting even to hear your song on the radio.
Oh yeah, there's like nothing that will bring me to more like, you know, I mean, like I've been fortunate to have multiple bands and songs that got played on the radio, and nothing like will move me to like emotional tears quicker than like tuning in and hearing someone like your song end and someone like say your name and talk about it. It's I always I don't know if you're familiar with that movie That Thing You Do.
Oh yeah.
But the scene where they're like listening to their song and running down the street and they all like meet up and start hugging, that's like one of my favorite scenes of like movies about bands.
Right.
You know, I think that like kind of captures a little bit of that feeling that you get, that sort of giddiness, and like, you know, you get the giddy tears.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah, man. That I imagine that's never gets old. Like it's just a cool thing for sure. So I've never got to, you know, quite. I've been on the radio and done some interview stuff, but I've never, I was like, and I don't have a band to somebody playing my song or something. But it's pretty wild to hear yourself on the radio, listen back to some of those recordings, and it's cool, man. It never gets old for sure.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's almost like the only time you can be outside of yourself. Yeah. It's like it's like the only time it's like I'm hearing a song like outside of doing it. I don't know. It's like, I can't really explain it, but it's a cool experience.
Right. Yeah, man. Well, do we have a official Justin Johnson Facebook or Instagram or anything that they can follow along with?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook, both as my regular self, but most of the stuff I post on my Instagram is like either music related, movie related with the podcast, or it's photos of my dog. So if you... And
you have a Facebook page for the podcast, and is there Instagram?
Yeah, we have our own Instagram and Facebook page and Twitter for the podcast. Don't Push Pause Podcast. But most of the time on my personal Facebook, I try not to like over promote, but you know, I'll post like what's going on. If I'm playing a show, I'll always put it on Facebook.
Well, you get involved online then, and again, come out September 28th.
Yeah, I love it. People come out. I don't play that often, and you know, I always have that huge anxiety that like when you don't play a while and you put on a show, it's just like, man, I hope people are going to come out to this thing. So I plead with anybody, if you're free and you're not doing anything, come on out, check it out.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks again for everything. This has been an incredible night, and I will see you soon, man.
Yeah, thank you, Shane.
All right, bye, everybody.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast.
Well, yeah, that was it.